Good afternoon. My name is Brother Kavindu Masay Hill. I'm a member of the International Freedom Center Modern League. First and foremost, Mr. Phillip, we have attempted to make contact with you maybe for at least the last 3 months. Now, we're taking into consideration the holiday season. Your people have still not reached back out to us to let us know when it would be acceptable for you to meet with us regarding this very issue. That's the first thing. The second thing is, going off with the brother that's sitting down in a white sweater, I didn't get your name.
Okay.
He mentioned other things to empower the community. One of the things that we've already started to do is become block associate presidents. I actually have about 30 applications that are ready to be turned in by no later than two weeks from now. But it can't be the end-all be-all that we get in contact with you through this tip line regarding our community, because we are not feeling safe. And the safe factor is not just from the drug dealers. Let it be said that there is an issue with police brutality. And in our community, I'm not going to turn my son over to you or to anyone who don't know how to properly show respect back and forth. So that's going off of what Sister Black said earlier, that there needs to be more conscious efforts made so that when they speak to us, they don't speak to us like we're children, because we are men. But we've actually made more than that effort, because we are feeding the homeless. We just gave out blankets inside of Journal Square, where we were told we couldn't even go downstairs into the vestibule to give people who we know need. We were threatened, am I correct? That we would be escorted out or worse. While we were in black suits, so I know that there might be an idea that we only wear jeans, but we wear suits also. There has to be more not for top heavy, because everything that I've heard thus far is top heavy, what the police can do for our community. But what functions are you doing now to give some grassroots assistance?
Right.
So okay, I'll ask you, as a block association leader, what are your recommendations?
Well, one of my recommendations immediately is because I actually used to work inside of Snyder High School as well. One of the things I would do is employ some of these pastors inside of the community, not just pastors, I apologize, but I love Jesus Christ. But let's employ some of the pastors to go inside of these school systems. Instead of trying to intimidate, let us encourage. Let us build up instead of destroy. And when you look at factors or issues concerning the five arrests that you had that was used, there are a lot more issues that's concerning our youth. These children, some children are not eating before they get in there. So how are we helping the families?
Thank you.
One last thing.
Sure.
I'm not privy to information like these meetings. Now, Twitter, Facebook, and all these other technological things, social media is too prevalent in our world today that people like me don't know. So I don't know when your meeting is, and I don't. Had we not been inside the City Hall last week with people who went out of your way to help us, we would have not gotten any assistance at all. They told me while I was physically in City Hall that I had to wait for a phone call to have a meeting with you. Now that makes no sense to me.
Could I just bring up a couple of things? Thanks for your comments. First, on the ground level, he was discussing how everything everything seems to be enforcement. That's not true anymore. I agree with you. In society in general, policing everywhere, we're not exempt from people could be nicer to each other and not rude. If people are rude, it's inappropriate, it's wrong, and we should do something about it. But we talked about 208 gun arrests last year. 208. That's 208 separate times the police took a gun from somebody out on the street. We all know there are large conversations going on about policing in America right now, everywhere. Chicago, Baltimore, New York, here, we're not exempt, everywhere else. Those 208 gun arrests many of which involve resistance and pursuit. Not one person hurt. It is a very restrained police department, the Jersey City Police Department. You cannot be prouder of the work that the men and women do out in the street. One second, sir, can I finish? That they do every day. That's not an accident. It's impossible for that number to be done and for it to be an accident. Now, on the other side, we have two things that we're doing that I have a lot of things, but I want to stress two. We're involved in what's called Project Good Neighbor. We brought this in under the mayor this year, working with the Attorney General. It is a direct attempt to reach out to people touched by violence in the community. Okay, so if there is a victim of a shooting, or if a young man is arrested for a gun or a shooting, we have a social worker and a detective who reach out directly to them in a completely non-custodial setting. Nothing they say can be used against them, and they go to the family, visit them, the family and friends, and say, what can we do for you outside of the criminal justice system to help the other members of your family who may be traumatized by what happened to their family member or even by the arrest of a family member. And we just added a second one there. Now, we're not having a lot of success because you just mentioned, one sec, but you mentioned the trust deficit, which I think you're hitting on something that's just as important as the fear deficit as far as cooperating with the police is a trust deficit between the community and the police. We're not having a lot of success on our initial approach, but then people circle back to us. People come back and say, you know, I would like you to talk to my other side. I would like you to talk. So we're starting to build on that, which is why we just increased the staff over there and brought in someone to overrun it. Secondly, one of the major things we have to do is what the mayor mentioned at the beginning. The police department has to reflect Jersey City and be like Jersey City. So we have those two officers who are out there every day, two recruiters, recruiting people from Jersey City and staying with them through the whole process to become police officers. And anyone who can help us, anyone from any church, any place that will help us mentor these young people, we're going down into junior high now and starting with them. The one officer who does it, they're both successful police officers. One was a football coach, lives in the community, and was a former Marine. And the other one is a female who lives in the community. And they're not just taking names, they're sticking with these kids based on what the Marine Corps does, all the way through when they take the test and go forward. And now, as the mayor said, we're realizing we got to stay with them even further to when they actually go to the academy.
Can I say one thing to your point? I'm going to just turn it over to our Director of Recreation, because there also, honestly, there's a gap on some of the programs that we do and the things that we've expanded and the community utilization of those ultimately. So I'll go to enough community meetings where people say, well, you should have more gyms open, or you should have more programs, or they used to have the nighttime basketball, they used to have this. A lot of those things are happening, truthfully, throughout the city. There's a gap on dialogue and awareness, and that's partially for us to blame and partially on the community. There's a shared responsibility. Again, I just want to turn it over quickly to Kevin to kind of touch on some of that stuff.
Good evening. How are you guys? Hope everything is well at home. I think the young lady